All right, welcome back to What's Hockey. We're going to go ahead and jump right into Around That Hockey, as we normally do. Before we get into the playoffs and what the Dallas Stars are doing, as well as other teams, we're going to go ahead and talk about head coach that was fired, Keaton. You got more on that?
The Kraken head coach got fired. Give me a few seconds. Dave Haxtell. Classic. The guy was the actual first ever head coach of the Kraken, so it's not like he really had, I guess, high expectations when he was hired, but hasn't really been doing much ever since. So, at this point, they haven't made the playoffs, haven't really been doing anything. So,
Yeah,
time to get a switch up in there. It'll be interesting to see. The assistant head coach is also not going to come back. So they'll probably just kind of refresh the management basically. So
yeah.
hopefully everything gets taken
I
care
mean,
of.
I know they're an expansion team as of 2 years ago. Was it 2 years or three now? Let's say two and a half. We'll cut it in the middle. Regardless, they're relatively new, but I understand. Like, well, there's a lot of pressure in hockey anyway to get results quickly. We've seen
Yeah,
what Vegas has done since they've joined the league,
yeah.
and we're going to talk more about them in a second. So, I mean, it does make sense. You haven't achieved anything, and ownership wants some immediate success. Maybe not immediate. They gave you a year and a half, 2 years. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just
But I
not
believe
cutting
they
it.
made it to the second round of the playoffs last year. So I mean, if you just don't even make the playoffs this year, it's just what are you doing?
Yeah, I think
I don't
one
really
big
know how much
thing.
their roster's changed, but for the most part, the coach can't really be coaching it all that well,
Yeah,
if
and I
that's
mean
the case.
their record was they had 34 wins and 35 losses, and then figure in the OT there, so about 13. I don't. Yeah, they went to
That's
13 OT games, and then some of those are wins, of course. But yeah, it's just 34 and 35 isn't a good enough record. 81 points over 82 games. I mean, you're not the worst team in the world, but you need to shake that up a little bit. So he's out of there.
yeah.
And that's the latest coach fired. We've brought every single one to you since we started the podcast. But let's jump into the playoffs, Keaton. And I think we should start with the Dallas Stars, the hometown team. Last week, they were 0-2 when we talked on this podcast. I shared
And now they're tied it up.
and now they're tied. It is 2-2. I shared my reservations before the series. I shared my reservations during the series last week. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend we're out of the woods. In fact, we're far from it. We went 0-2 in our last two home games. We have a game tonight, Wednesday night at 6:30. Finally, a normal time to start a game. So it won't be a struggle to stay up until when? What time did that game end? The game three in overtime.
It was like one
Was that like
a.m.
it was like 1:15 local time a.m., which brutal. Anyway, uh, the Golden Knights, man, they're a fantastic team. We've got to keep playing the way we have the last two games. Last week, I discussed how I hated that we were doing the dump and chase method. And this past week, the two games in Vegas, we abandoned that, thank God, and went back to our normal play style. Wyatt Johnson was much more productive. We adjusted some lines. Pete DeBoer adjusted some lines, I should say. Um, I really love the fourth line too, bringing up Delandria, who was a healthy scratch for a lot of the season, and he makes the game-winning goal with his face in Game 4. But he's just been so scrappy and productive and energetic, and you got Craig Smith on that line, who's the same type of player, high energy. That when they get their opportunity, they go. And so I'm enjoying seeing that. And so, I talked about how the Stars having good lines and good depth and good young players. And it's showing that, I mean, even their fourth line is making an impact and they get that game winning goal against Vegas. Ottinger has stepped up a bit too. And then I got to shout out Rope in game four. He gets a crucial block to stop a potential game tying goal from Vegas, gets up while clearly hurt, and the puck falls to him, and he scores an empty netter from the other side of the ice to seal it. So just a great performance by the Stars. And I feel like I've been talking for a good second, but I also, of course, got to shout out Wyatt Johnston's goal in Game 3 in overtime. I just mentioned how we were up till 1:15 in the morning for it. The thing about Thompson, their goalie, who's honestly, I think last time we talked, I said he was a little, like, he saved a lot, but they weren't like the greatest saves. He made some fantastic saves. He's been a stud the last 2 games. But he likes to go low, protect low, and Wyatt went high above that left shoulder of his, right by the ear, from a 0-degree angle, and it was a thing of beauty to watch. A good winner, good job, Wyatt.
Nice, Dan.
Keaton, you got any thoughts on the series? I feel like I talked a ton right there. My bad.
I don't really mind that much, but yeah, for the most part, the series is tied up. It's interesting to see that the home team is losing every game. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens next few games because, maybe they take it all to 7. They're going to be beat up and bruised, and whoever they play, they're going to have to step it up because they most likely had a rest because it seems like we've gotten 4 eliminations already. So, depending on who they play next, yeah.
Yeah, it was actually a team that won last night. The Colorado Avalanche is going to be waiting on the winner of this series, and they will have had a huge rest, being that the soonest the series could wrap up is Friday, and of course they wouldn't play. They probably wouldn't play till at least next Monday. And so, yeah, Colorado would definitely have a pretty big rest there. Now that I brought them up, Keaton, you got some observations from that series or the Game 5 that ended the series for Winnipeg?
Yeah, I mean, the Jets were just at a loss for any kind of offensive production. They showed some spark here and there, but I mean, ultimately, Colorado just dominated on their offensive front. Who's their goalie, Georgiev? He's been pretty solid.
Georgiev, but I don't
Georgiev.
know for sure. Georgiev or Georgiev. It's spelled like George.
Yeah. But... Nice, dude. But either way, ultimately they are handling the business, just getting it done. Hellebuck has just been peppered with shots. He's been talked about being the best goalie of the season and just allowed at least 5 goals, I think, every game. So, I don't know what happened.
Game, I
it's
think
pretty wild.
The last 1 or 2 were empty nets, if I'm not wrong on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's like what you mentioned earlier. The offensive production of the Jets after Game 1, it was non-existent. And then on the other end, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they scored 3 and kind of held on, but at the end of the day,
they scored all 5. They scored 5 on Hellebuck, our consensus Vezina Cup winner. And mind you, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that he should have saved all of them. Colorado's attack has been stupendous. I mean, this is a team
I think they've gotten at least like 30 shots on goal. So it's
they put 31 up last game, and I don't have every game pulled up, but they've been peppering him, and so peppering Hellebuck, that is. And so Georgiev has stepped up. Georgiev. Doesn't matter at this point. He's stepped up, and then on the other end, Colorado has played fantastic offensively. They have so many weapons between Lehkonen, Rantanen, Cale Makar, of course, McKinnon. It's an ongoing onslaught. You can't stop them. So whoever between the Knights and the Stars is going to end up facing Colorado, man, that's going to be a tough one as well. So it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be hard to shut it down. Yeah, that's for sure. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to see what the Jets do in the next, few months here in the off season and so. But, I wonder if they're going to fire their coach, switch up something, figure out something else that works, or just stick with it because they at least made it to the playoffs. I don't know, but I think it's back to back first round outings, and just couldn't really produce anything. So wonder if they're gonna switch anything up.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, for sure.
I mean, they're gonna have to, but yeah.
We shall see. If they do, we'll have it for you here, of course. Let's move over to the eastern side. Let's talk about a series that ended a few days ago. You and I were watching the game, Florida and Tampa Bay. I, of course, picked Tampa. You picked Florida. Do you have any thoughts after that series?
I mean, Florida brought it how I thought that they would. I figured the Lightning would bring a little bit more, maybe win 2 games, but I think the game that you and I watched, they at least brought what they, had shown all season long. They brought their offensive power. Their defense wasn't so bad, and they ended up winning that game. But yeah, pretty much Bobrovsky. He's just been such a good goaltender. The Sam Reinhart always been such a solid player, and who's the other one?
They got Barkov, who played well.
Oh, Vergehi.
Verhaeghe.
Vergehi. He's been. Verhaeghe. Yeah.
Yeah, he's played pretty dang well the entire playoffs. The entire series, I should say. Florida, man, they are a problem. You have them you have them going to the Stanley Cup Finals, and I, for some reason, picked them going out in the first round. So it's exactly like you said, man. Just an onslaught offensively, and then solid defense and good goal play. It's a dangerous team for sure. They will be awaiting the winner of the Boston-Toronto series, who went to overtime last night. Keaton, you got anything on that overtime game?
Yeah, they were without Austin Matthews, I believe, for the last couple games, and they got it going. I believe they switched out their goaltender as well. Wall was at net, and he ended up playing pretty well. And I believe that they Matthews had some sort of newcomer.
Sorry to interrupt you. Matthews did play in Game 4, but he was out Game 4.
Sure.
You said out the last couple games. Sorry.
Well, I believe he exited that game. That's why I mentioned it.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, didn't mean to interrupt you. Please continue.
Nice, dude. But for the most part, I lost my train of thought. But I believe a newcomer scored the game winner in OT. One is Knies, Knies. Pretty solid outing for the Maple Leafs. I think that the Bruins have a pretty solid front. They should be pretty good in the series. Believe it might even be pushed to a potential Game 7, but as of right now, we'll see what happens in Game 6.
Yeah, man, and the thing too in that game is that it was in Boston. I mean, this was the Bruins' chance to, seal the series at home.
To shut it out.
And instead, it's a 3-2 series that's pretty open for anyone to take. And for Toronto to do that without Austin Matthews, that's tough, man. That's impressive. That's a guy that we talked about having the most goals throughout the season. You're without him for the entire game, and Boston loses. So I think this gives Toronto a good boost. It gives each player on that team, they're like, we don't have to rely on our best player. I can take over. I can score. I can win this game. And that can be real dangerous for Boston, man. So we'll keep up with that one. Let's stay in the East. Another series ended last night, and that was Carolina versus the New York Islanders. Keaton, you got some thoughts on that one?
Yeah, the Islanders showed a little bit more promise than I thought. I honestly thought that the Carolina Canes would end it in 4 games. But, they ended up winning that. Was it in overtime? I can't remember. But
no, it did not go to
it wasn't. But yeah, either way, the Canes are pretty dangerous. They've been able to adjust and just kind of eliminate their opponent in the third period, and it's pretty obvious when they beat the Islanders. I mean, it'll be interesting when they face an actually better team, because obviously the Islanders, I feel at least, kind of just squeaked into the playoffs, just like the Capitals. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see who they
They'd be
match up
playing
with coming up.
they'd be playing the Rangers.
Oh, the Rangers, that's for sure. I did have them beating the Rangers, but the Rangers have been playing pretty solid, so that'll be definitely a pretty good matchup. You know, potentially even 7 games. But
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you talked about it about New York. Kind of, you said they weren't a for real team. I did have them beating Carolina. I was way off on that. I mean, the way the game started, New York put up 3 shots on goal. They did score one, but they had 3 shots on goal after the first period. You had 20 minutes, and that's all you did. They're down 3-1, and then they do come back. They tie it up. It's 3-3. The third period starts. I think it was around the 13th minute. I think it's about the 13th minute. And Carolina scores, and 8 seconds later, they score again, and it's 5-3. In a span of 10 seconds, you went from a tie game. If you're the Islanders, a tie game, and you have a chance to win and force another game, and instead Carolina's their onslaught continued. That we talked about it. I forget who they played earlier in the season, but they had a span of they had 2 goals in like a 10-second span as well. I mean, this is a team that they put it on in bunches, and then they pursue the puck. So like that second goal, I forget how it deflected back to Varlamov, or if it was passed back, but it goes off the wall or off the glass, and it's dinking around, and Carolina's the first of the puck, and they put it in. I mean, they pursue hard. They play hard.
Svechnikov?
The goalie for the Islanders?
Oh, I don't know. I thought you were talking about the other guy who
Oh,
scored.
sorry. No. But, yeah, so Carolina ends up sealing that series, wrapping it up.
Easy
And
peasy.
it wasn't a particularly competitive series. I mean, the Islanders did win a game. They had a close game here and there, but Carolina showed their pedigree during this series. They showed why that they were the third most points in the league, right behind the Rangers and the Stars. Is that correct? I don't have it in front. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
shouldn't have even.
Yeah, they should have been.
Yeah, and so between the Rangers and Carolina, that next series is going to be quite entertaining, man.
They're also in the same division, so it's going to be quite the matchup.
Oh man, you play your division so much. The rivalries, the hatred that's going to exist in that game are going to be strong. I expect Rempe to put up some big penalty minutes throughout it. But yeah, man, Carolina got the job done. I think we haven't talked about 2 series. They're back in the West. We can touch on it briefly. Edmonton is up 3-1 on the Kings. You and I both don't see the Kings advancing. In fact, we think that they barely deserve to be there.
I mean, there's been a few games where. Oh, hold on. Trying to exit out of an ad. There's been a few games where Edmonton has been scoring, 6-1, 5-1. Trying to pull up the other scores, but yeah, I mean, for the most part, they've just been dominating.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they shut them out. They couldn't produce anything from their offense. So I just don't really see what's going on with the Kings. I mean, they did fire their coach in the offseason. They did get their overtime win, but I, for one, personally think that they gave up 7 in the first game, 6 in the third game, or second game, and then got shut out in the third game.
Yeah. So that series is
fourth game.
Fourth game.
But
that series is playing out exactly like we thought it would be. They do win one game, but we've talked about it. I mean, in hockey, you've got a puncher's chance in pretty much every game. We've seen the Coyotes beat teams they shouldn't have. I mean, so it just is what it is. Now, the last series we haven't talked about, they played a game last night. The Vancouver Canucks and the Nashville Predators. The series was 3-2. Keaton, what you got on that one?
Predators, I felt like they were kind of on their way out with being 3-1, but I knew that they were going to kind of show their toughness. They're not going to just go away immediately. I'm still going with the Canucks on this one, but it's definitely going to be a tough matchup for the Canucks. They're just going to have to get through it and push through and eventually face whoever wins out of Edmonton and the Kings. But I honestly think it's going to be the Oilers. So
yeah, and you know what? It's going to be very defensive as well. And some of it, I think that there's a lack of offensive prowess that we've seen on other rosters. But like the last game, all three goals were scored in the third period. And UC Saros and Thatcher Demko, I think each of them faced under like 23 shots total, like each. And or I'm sorry, not so individually they probably saw like 23 shots on goal. It's a defensive matchup for sure, and I think it's a real physical matchup too. I mean, Nashville,
a
lot of hits, scrappy team. I mean, the way they got in the playoffs, there's a point where they didn't look like they were going to make the playoffs. They go on two big runs, I think it was during the regular season. And that's just,
I know of one at least. They won like 8 or 9, I think, in a row, or at least there was like an 18-point streak or something like that.
Yeah, there's a ton of grit on that team, on that roster. They're willing to fight, man. And so, like, they're gonna play Edmonton more than likely, unless we just jinxed it and the Kings beat them. And
don't see it, but
sorry,
I said I don't see it.
oh,
but,
the Kings,
you know.
yeah. No, that would be ridiculous. If we come on this podcast next
Hopefully they wrap it up tonight. They play their game tonight on the 1st. So
yeah. So Nashville, I really feel like they're going to force this game 7. Their next game is in Nashville, I believe it is, on Friday night. And then Sunday, if that game ends up going Nashville's way, they'd play in Vancouver on Sunday. So by the time we talk again, that series will for sure be wrapped up. But oh man, it's not a high scoring one. It's not a ton of highlight goals. You're not going to see a Mishi. But you know what, man? I love the hits. I love the physicality. I don't like Nashville, being that they're in the Stars division. They're kind of a rival. But boy, man, they hit. There's a reason they're here. It's not like the Kings, in my opinion. So it's going to be a pretty tight finish to the end of that series, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch.
Absolutely, 100%, man. I mean, like, for the most part, outside of the Rangers versus the Caps, every series has had a reason to maybe Edmonton, LA. I'd throw that one out there. But, like, I know Winnipeg loses 4-1. Winnipeg's first game, they won game 1. They played fantastic. They showed why they were there, and so that intrigued me for every game. And they scored the first goal last night, too, and they just choked it away. I mean, they were up pretty early on in that game. They just choked it.
They kind of held on to the lead for a while up into the last minute.
Yeah. But, man, every series has been prime time television, dang near every game, even the ones where, like, Florida goes ahead and wins in a 4-1 series, but there were games against Tampa that were fantastic. They're just empty net goals and score looks a little more lopsided, or Tampa just couldn't clutch it. But a fantastic series all around. Yep, I think I've started.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Stamkos does, because he'll be a free agent from the Lightning, and obviously he wants to be there, but who knows? Some suitor might be able to pay him or whatnot.
For sure. I mean, like, Stamkos, strikes me as a guy who like wants to stay with his team long term. But I would have thought the same about Patrick Kane, and Patrick Kane's wearing the Red Wings uni now. So we'll see what Stamkos does over there. And once he does something, we'll of course keep y'all posted. We'll let y'all know all the off-season moves and everything as well. But I think that recaps about everything. Keaton, do you have anything else we may have forgotten?
No, other than Rudy sucks at brackets for the
Quick,
NHL.
quick bracket. We'll touch on it. I, of course, got Tampa Bay wrong against Florida. I had them going to the conference finals. So that's my next series as well is off for that one. And then I also had the Islanders beating Carolina, which I don't even know what I was thinking with that one. That's dumb. I don't like myself for that one. That was dumb.
It was terrible. It was terrible.
Bad.
I tried to tell you that at the beginning, but you were like, nah.
I don't know what I was thinking, man. But Keaton got both those right. He's up on me in the brackets. It's not over. We'll see what happens. But, yeah. And the problem is that for the most part, too, we have the exact same Western Conference bracket. So me getting 2 wrong in the East really screws me. Unless, like, I have the Rangers going all the way. And I think you have Carolina beating them in the next round. So I would need that to go wrong for you. And then you have Florida going to the conference finals. I would need them to lose their next series as well. Yeah. But hey, whatever. I was wrong. It's okay. Can't get them all.
Nice, too.
But anyway, I think that'll wrap it up for us. Y'all take care. Peace out.
Thanks for watching. Have a good one.